Hello, 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 everyone. It's Dr. Tamara Beckford, and welcome to the Dr. Tamara Beckford Show. Alrighty, now I know a lot of you guys out there have been frustrated. So, have you ever been frustrated because you felt like you had no freedom? Especially my physicians out there. We're in the era where we are turning our frustration into freedom. And today I have a wonderful doc of ours who did that. Not only did she put it into freedom, but she launched her own concierge pediatric practice that's been ongoing for count not 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, but 10 years strong. I know you're excited, so you better listen along for this wonderful conversation. Okay, so my sister doc here in the H town of ours, she graduated from Aga Khan University Medical College in Karachi. She did her residency in pediatric at SUNY Upstate University in New York. Okay, it's Syracuse, New York. I sound just this much like this is much like Alicia Keys when I sang that song. This much. All right. She did her fellowship in Academic General Peds at Baylor College of Medicine, along with doing that while she did her MPH at UT Public Health. Now, she's been practicing since 2003. And after 10 years, she realized that, you know what? There's some people there who need this really closer feel. She saw parents who were juggling their personal professional lives, and they needed a pediatric clinic that was easily accessible. And so she said, you know what? I'm the woman for the job. So she goes out and she does that here in Houston's suburbs, one of the area that's a little bit in our hub here in Houston called the Bellaire area. Now, it's one of the busiest little areas because Houston is busy for those of you guys. So Houston is 2 hours away from Houston, right? And she decides to help us out here. So she developed a practice with a very great neighborhood feel. And she called that practice Pediatric Pod. Now, she's been a Houston top doc for 6 years. So mind you, I told her she's been open for 10 and she's been a top doc for 6 years, including as recent as 2023. Who am I talking about? The one and only Dr. Aida Khanum. Welcome, 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 Dr. Khanum. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you for having me. That is a very sweet introduction.
Oh, thank you so much for joining us. We have some people saying hello already. They're like, she rocks. Hello, hello, Dr. Cologne
Hello.
Gonzalez. Yes, she absolutely rocked. And we're going to hear all about her rocking story. Now, tell us, before you became Dr. Khanum and you were Aida, tell us, Aida, what made you decide to go into medicine? What was the story behind this?
So, my story is a little unique.
Mhm,
I am actually half Swiss, half Pakistani. So, my mom's
mhm,
from Switzerland, dad's from Pakistan. I grew up in Karachi, Pakistan.
mhm,
Dad's a lawyer, mom was a teacher, no physicians in my family.
mm,
But we had an uncle who was actually our pediatrician,
mhm.
and he was the one who kind of looked out for us. He was our family doc, he took care of us. And I think growing up, I kind of really just sort of admired the way he practiced. I mean,
Right.
he was the doc that you would call when you had health issues or any issues. Actually, he was
Right.
just really amazing. He was, I think, my mentor. He kind of helped me, guide me through. Once I started getting interested in medicine, I said, I want to be just like you, and
Oh,
I want to go that path. And I just loved the way that he looked out for our family, but so many families. So he was like,
mhm.
he was with us at social events, and just guiding us through everything. And so I just wanted to kind of have that kind of relationship with my families and patients,
Mhm.
and just sort of trended towards that direction. So yeah, that's what I wanted to do.
I love it. And it's so important when we really look back in our lives when we make these decisions, and the decisions are really based on others and like the impact others have had on our lives, right? And if you think about the impact that this your uncle had on your life is impact of it's made you, it made you feel comfortable. You love the way that he interacted with others. There's a level also of respect that is brought on, and guidance at the same time. And you think, like, as a kid, you're like, I like all of those attributes. So yes, I want to do this. And I love, like you said, that once your interest started to zone in into medicine, he was there to help you,
Mhm.
guide you along the way. Because Lord, we all know the medicine, when you start going in this route, you need a lot of guidance.
Yes.
So you did it, right? You're there. You're in med school. Did you go in thinking, I want to do pediatrics because I love kids? I have a lot of guests who says, like, yeah, I went in this way and then they came out the other way. What did you do? Did you go in knowing that you wanted to do pediatrics?
Yes, actually I did. So, I loved working with kids. It's a little cliched, but it's funny because I think when I went in, I'd always liked kids. And
Mhm.
that's why I said he was actually a pediatrician. And so I loved the fact that he worked
Ah,
with kids and he made us so comfortable. And then when we were at med school, I did all the rotations. And,
mhm.
I remember there was a surgery attending who was like, Ida, you need to do surgery. And I was like, he's like, okay, do pediatric surgery. I was like,
He
no.
was trying to
And
pull you in.
he was like, I'll write a recommendation, but do surgery. And I was like, I want to do peds. I really love it. I love the
Mhm.
fact that you kind of seeing the kids, you see them, not majority of the time they're well, you kind of see
Yeah.
them grow, you walk them through that process, but you develop a
Mhm.
relationship with the children and the parents and the
Absolutely.
grandparents. You become part of that family. And I
Yes.
think it's just very rewarding and fun. I wanted to do something where I'm doing something that I really love and
Mhm.
enjoy, not just taking care of them when they're sick, but preventing things
Absolutely.
happening and sort of seeing them grow. And
Yeah.
my kids go right through college, so it's lovely. It's amazing.
Oh, I love it. Now, as a personal anecdotal story, like I remember my pediatrician, and I remember the day when I outgrew.
Yeah.
It was one of the saddest days of my life. I'm like, what do you mean I can't come back to you? She's like, well, I was in college. She's like,
Yeah.
well, it was kind of like, how do I break it to you?
Do you? So
Oh,
the funny thing is, so I
mhm.
actually in my concierge practice, I'm able to take them on. So I have a lot of kids who actually stay through college
Ah,
because they're like, I don't want to go
what do you
somewhere
mean you're trying to
else.
let me go?
They're like, and as long as it's within my scope of practice, I'm okay with
Absolutely.
it.
Yeah.
But the parents are also like, the kids are going out of town. Who are they going to call? I'm not a doctor. I don't know any doctors. Where are they going to go? And then they haven't established care. So we're kind of like, we do that little transition. But I also try to help them find other physicians. So that's the nice
Absolutely.
part. You got to have that relationship where you're not just a number, but you are a human
Yes.
being. We have a relationship, and our goal is, and we talk about all kinds of things. Where are you going to
Yeah.
college? What are you going to do? I mean, it's fun.
Hmm. Absolutely. And that's a great impact. Like you said, that in pediatrics, yes, the main patient is the pediatric patient, but you are really part of the family because you're really there from a couple days, right?
Yeah.
That was one of the biggest thing. Once I became pregnant, I'm like, okay. And then it was like, oh, wait a minute. I need to now establish care with a pediatrician. Like, how do you do that? What and the care that is established is from a few days old. So that's how this relationship starts, right?
I actually have patients that establish the relationship before they even have the baby. So I offer
Wow.
me. So our goal is always to try and get families to kind of reach out for a pediatrician beforehand. And so
Mhm.
I do once a month a newborn sort of a baby social sprinkle for
Right.
expectant parents. But I do an education. But parents who choose us as a pediatrician, my practice, we kind of develop a relationship even before the baby's here. So it's awesome.
Ah,
It's awesome.
I love it. I love it. Alrighty, so here we are in med school, and yes, you went in peds, you came out peds. Not a lot of people were able to do that, so congratulations. You stuck to the gun.
Yes.
Alrighty, and then residency and now working. Now that's the thing about life, right? You're there in residency, and then you come out working, and the job when you come out, like, how was it? Like, now you're on your own out of residency, you're an attending and you're taking care of the kids. Tell us, how was that journey, especially at the beginning part of that journey, how the excitement and everything.
Right. So I did my residency in Syracuse in New York. And then while
Mhm,
I was in residency, we do rotations to see what it is that we want to do going forward. And
mhm,
that's when I kind of decided that I wanted to get a master's in public health and was
mhm,
interested in international pediatrics and
mm,
looked into academic general peds. And that's how I sort of made my way down south here to Baylor to do my fellowship in
mhm,
academic general peds, which was nice, which was really nice because you aren't attending, you're kind of teaching students, you're learning the academic part of it, you're learning about research and stuff. So that was really nice. And I got my
mhm.
master's in public health. I did that for 3 years. My goal was to exit and join the World Health Organization and do international
To the
health.
world.
I that was my goal. I met my
Mhm,
husband and we got married. And
mhm.
he was like, uh-uh.
International
It's
where
home.
Houston is a very international hub.
It is. It is. And so we kind of decided to stay here.
Mhm,
He was a banker, not medical. And he said,
mhm.
you create your international world here. So I was like,
Ah,
that's true. Houston has great diversity. We have, I speak a few languages. And so I think that's another thing I brought to my practice. But
mhm,
I went out and I started working for one company. And then I worked for a second company. And when I was doing that, I realized I was interested in the business aspect of medicine, but
mhm.
also realized all the red tape that goes
Yes.
into the blocks between a patient and the physician. And as I
Mhm,
was saying, my mentor was a pediatrician. We had direct in, we talked, we had all of that relationship. And I just felt like when I was working within these organizations, all of that was missing. And with the
yes.
years going by, I felt like that distance was getting further and further
Further,
away.
further.
And my patients, and I mean, I loved it when my patients would come, but then I felt like, oh my God, I'm having to churn this out really much faster. And so
Mhm,
the business aspect of it was something that I got interested in. And so I was helping a couple of companies grow their practices
mhm,
with my input as to what I thought would be something good.
mhm.
And then I had 3 kids, and, I think that's my biggest accomplishment. I have 3 kids, 3 boys. When people say,
Mhm.
what have you achieved? I said, I'm a mother. I have 3 children.
Yes.
And then I have my fourth baby would be my practice. But as I was doing that, I kind of realized, I was doing this for other people. You bring ideas to the table, and then people are like, oh, the business aspect doesn't make sense. The insurance is involved, this and that, and everything. And so with time, I think I sort of started to realize, I'm the type of person who's very proactive. I think I tried to go above and beyond. And I was putting this 200% effort for other people.
Mhm.
Um, and it wasn't making things weren't changing.
Yes.
I was still kind of pushed. It was like, the patient's there, they never get to talk to you until they're in the room, they have a few minutes and things like that. So I said, you know what, I think let me try and do this myself. And I remember
Mhm.
when my husband's in business. So I remember when, I had my third child and I was talking to my husband, he's like, yeah, just go ahead and do it yourself. And I was just like, and so then for a while I was like, okay, I don't know, I don't know.
Yes.
Is that something that we should do? Because if you look at our traditional training, everything's trained, we're trained to follow the system. We're
Yes.
trained to go back into the system. So we really don't
Yes.
get any business training or marketing training or any of
And
that.
I want to put a little context to what you're talking about in the time frame, because right now, even though a lot of people who are listening, they're hearing the word like concierge and direct primary and direct care services a little bit more frequent now, but this is 10 years ago when this was like not heard of. So I just want them to just have a context of the breadth of what you were quote unquote taking on, and the mindset of everyone around you
Yeah,
when you dared to go against the system.
on my
So
own
yeah,
way. So
yes, go ahead. I just wanted to just
yeah,
truly understand that environment.
so I will say, so when I started my practice, I actually did take insurance initially
Mhm, mhm,
because my goal was, and I actually had two concierge physicians who had started on their own.
mhm.
I talked to them, and it was right at the beginning where I think there was just like a handful, actually not even a handful. I think there were maybe one or two people in the
Yeah,
city.
like sprinkles.
Yes. And, they were like, this might be something that you may want to do. And,
Mhm,
everywhere that I went and everyone that I talked to, they were like, oh my God, this is going to be too difficult. And so they were like, why don't you start the insurance route and then see how that goes? And I was like, okay, I guess I'll do that and I'll try that way. And so that's what I did. So I had the concierge model, which is
Mm-hmm.
basically I was offering all the perks to my patients for
Yes.
free. So it was basically under the insurance banner. So they got same day access. They had, direct access to me. They would get appointments that were longer. I mean, pretty much everything, but they weren't paying the membership until about a year and a half ago, where I actually switched the business model to the membership.
Mm-hmm.
But yes, I mean, it's been like a concierge style practice for 10 years,
Yeah.
and it has been wonderful. I mean, my goal was to kind of remove that barrier. So my practice
Mm-hmm.
has always been, you call, someone answers the phone, you get your appointment, you get to talk to me. Our goal is not to have you go figuring out the system and trying to navigate it on your own. And I think that has been just something,
Mm-hmm.
the pain points that I thought I felt when I had my kids before I started my own practice. And I could
Mm-hmm.
hear the background from everywhere. Everybody
Yeah.
was talking about it. And to this day, and it's just getting worse.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. And when you talk about even navigating the system and juggling, and when we see our patients, now for us as physicians who are quote unquote part of the system, even when we try to navigate
Mhm.
outside of our specialty, we see how challenging it can be. And it
Yes.
really breaks our heart to see our patients having to go through this,
That,
where there isn't enough time, the resources. In order to get one thing done, they have to jump through five hoops
mhm.
to get one thing done. And by the time they come to you, they're frustrated. They're taking their frustration out on you when they really are just frustrated at the five different hoops they had to go through in order to get to you.
That's right.
So let's now do that comparison. Pediatric Pod.
Yeah.
You open a pediatric pod and you're doing it your way.
Mhm.
What were some of the differences that you noticed in your patients and how they reacted to this type of care versus when you were at the other facilities and not working in that same type of realm, the realm that you've created versus the one that was there prior?
Prior. So yes, so I think it's number one. I mean, it's night and day. It's
Mm,
totally different. I think families sort of, when you create a personalized touch, you kind of have that one-on-one care. You're able to give time and you're able to listen to somebody's story. I would be honest, most of our first appointments are 30 to 45 minutes to an hour. I mean, I just let them talk. I'm like, tell me all that's going on and let's fix this. We have time to bond. We have time to figure things out and work through things. And it's amazing because most of the families are like, oh my God, like nobody has ever listened to me. Or,
yes.
it's always like sort of, and it's not that the physician, it's not a problem with the physicians. I think it's just the system. It
Mhm.
demands that you see people in 10 minutes. You
Yes.
see 50 patients a day or 40 patients or 30 or whatever it is. But
Mhm.
large volume, small amount of time, churn it out, you never get to develop that relationship. So the feedback
Mhm.
I've always got is like, we know you. They love the fact that, when they call, things get taken care of as they happen. They are very proactive with their health as well because they will reach out. You see, in the traditional system, people are like, I'm not going to get an appointment. They're going to send me to the urgent care. Maybe this will just go away. And so they wait,
Yes.
right? So they wait. And then when they reach out to you, it's so much worse potentially.
Mhm.
Versus in this system with me and my concierge, they just reach right out. They can text. So in my practice, they text. We have a HIPAA compliant text. My families, I remember when they joined, the first thing they say is, so if I text, who will answer? I said, me. They're like, no, no, but when I send a text, who's it going to go to? I said, me. They're like, if I text you at 2 in the morning, it's going to you? I said, yes. So they're like, okay, I'm going to be very careful. So I was like, okay. And it's amazing. No, it's amazing because they really, really, I think when they know that they can reach you,
Mhm.
they're really respectful because they know you're available. So they're going to, majority of my patients reach out to me during regular work hours and they reach out as things happen. And there are some people who will reach out after hours because something needed to be taken care of. But it's never
Mhm.
something that could have, they won't reach out for something that could be taken care of during the regular workday. So it's something that needed my attention. I think
Right.
that's a big thing. And then the price transparency. They love
Mm.
it they totally love it. They like, there's no hidden bills. There's no
Mhm.
navigating the insurance system. I don't know if it's copay, deductible. How much is my bill going to be? How much do you have to pay? Am I allowed to talk about this today? Am I going to get an extra bill? I don't, all of that goes
Yes.
out the window. The flat monthly membership, which is so affordable. And I think that is the other part that a lot of my families, I've actually had families come in with spreadsheets showing
Mhm.
how much money I saved them. They were like,
Mm.
why you're not exploding with patients, and why is everyone not doing this? Because they're like, every time I couldn't get an appointment, I was
Yes.
at urgent care paying
Yes.
2 or 3 times the price. If I got an appointment, I would wait for 3 4 hours. I would get a few minutes, and then I get my copay and then my deductible. And for that
Mhm.
one visit, and if I have to go back 2 days later or whatever it is, it's just so much inconvenience. And they end up with like 4 bills, 5 bills. They're
Yes.
like, what all of that. So there's no price transparency. You're having to figure the whole system out. Who do you
Mhm.
talk to? None of that. Here you play the monthly and you talk to me as much as you need and you get things
Yes.
out. So I think those are the big, big things that the families just love. It's like really taking a hold of your health. And that I think has been what we all talk about, right? If we don't have good health, it doesn't matter all the other stuff.
Anything else?
If you are sick,
Absolutely.
you can't work. If you can't work, and when you have kids as a parent who's working,
Mhm.
um, it's hard, it's stressful, and it's hard to have to try and navigate this. And so
Yes.
I think those have been like the biggest things. And I love it because it's like, everybody's like, oh, you're available 24/7. I was like, yeah, I am potentially available 24/7, but I said they know I'm here. And it's a small practice. So I think
Mhm.
that's the difference.
Yes,
Because
you
it's
get
very
that
small.
connection.
Yes.
Yeah, you get. You know what? One thing that you've mentioned that I think is so powerful too is in the realm of care of health. So I'm calling it care of health versus
That's right.
healthcare
Yeah.
intentionally, is
Mhm.
that they're within that practice, because there's such a great relationship between the patient and the physician. The patient understands and is able to take better care of their
Yes.
health.
Yes.
So you're not getting as many sick visits. I mean, things happen, but as you mentioned, because they understand and they know that they can get things done earlier versus having to wait until it's at the point where now, yes, you have to go to the urgent care, or now, yes, you have to go to the emergency department. Why? Because certain things, like I'm pretty sure you have patients who have asthma, who are, you're able to get them on prophylactic treatments. So you're reducing the flare ups
Mhm.
of their asthma, and therefore they're not just using inhalers just to rescue, because they don't understand that that's literally just your rescue. That's not, and this is not the way that you need to live.
Mhm.
If you can follow these simple treatments and these and these plan, then you're able to manage this, right? But they get that personalized understanding of their disease process because they get to sit with you versus, hey, here's your action plan,
Yeah.
red, green, yellow, thank you so much.
Yes. 100%. I mean, I think that, and that's exactly, you bring up a very good point. It's the time that you spend. So you develop a relationship, individually who has what level of care. And my team knows it as well. It's my assistant. She knows if a certain patient calls, they're like, gotta get him in. Majority of the time we need to bring him in. But the focus is on educating the families. And I would tell you, in
Mhm.
my 10 years of experience, and I remember I had this conversation with someone. They're like, you've been solo practice. Oh my God, as a pediatrician, how many calls do you get per night? This and that. I will tell you, in my 10 years, I think
Mhm.
the busiest month I ever had, I had 2 calls in a
Wow.
whole month. 2 calls, that's it. And the reason is, if you can spend time talking, educating, the families know what to do and they
Yeah.
start it and they start doing things. And then they know, okay, well, things are kind of not going the direction. I'm going to have to call Dr. Khanum now. And so
Yeah.
then they give us a call and we're like directing them. Versus if you didn't have the time to educate them and spend time talking to them, they're not going to know what to do. And so it's either they wait or, things get really much worse or,
Mhm.
they're calling you constantly. So
Yes.
I 100% agree with that. I think that is like key, no, big time.
I love it. I love it. So, the top docs, like when that's coming around, you have urgent 6
Yeah.
times within these like how like does that feel to see that those around you, and those parents and your colleagues like regard you in such an esteem? Tell me, like, how does that make you feel? Like,
I mean, it's an honor. I think, I'm very humbled. I think it's really an honor. I just got notice that I got it again for 2024.
ooh, okay, so
So,
7.
so it is very kind. I am very humbled. And, I think if you go into medicine, and, this is what I've had conversations with people. I think, my motivation is to provide the care for other people's kids as if they were my own, and
Yes.
that has always been my care, my methodology, or my motivation to do what I do. It's
Mhm.
sort of, I know I have 3 kids of my own. I'm a mother, I'm a working woman. I know all the pain points. I know how it feels when your kid is sick. I mean, I've had so many families reach out to me that there was something up with their kid and they couldn't get into a subspecialist. Can I help them?
Mhm.
And my network, I am able to give somebody a call and say, will you see
Yeah.
this patient? And they will say yes, because they know that if I'm making a call, that patient will come, will show up. So it won't be one of those double triple books and things like that. They kind of value your
Yeah.
call, I think, a little more. But I'm able to do that because I know the family and I've kind of got
Mhm.
that one-on-one. But yeah, no, I think it's just really wonderful. I think we have a wonderful network of physicians here, and it is a great honor to
Absolutely.
be sort of have that sort of recognition.
Yeah. Absolutely, absolutely. And I mean it's well deserved because in this, we'll even say, like, in this atmosphere and in where we are, there are so many people who have not been able to get the practice going for 10 years. I wouldn't say that they gave up, because giving up, it puts it on the physician. And I know that every physician that I've seen,
Yeah.
like, even online in our groups, that decided to start a practice, they're doing it out of the love for taking care of the patient.
Mhm.
So when the practice doesn't do well enough, or they have to close the practice, it's not a they quit. It's really that they got forced out, or their external factors have brought down the morale so much, and have ripped their heart out and their soul for what it is that they wanted to do. That energy that they had, it's torn apart, and they can't fight anymore. It's really that fight has like left. And so for all our colleagues out there that have started practices that had to close their practice, our hearts go out to you, because I know how much you put in to
Mhm.
get there, like, not just emotionally, but also financially. And
Mhm.
these are people with families that still have to take care of their families, even if this practice didn't make it. So our heart goes out to you guys. One of the things I wanted to ask now, there were, throughout this 10 years, we had this pandemic. Like, how did you navigate that? And maybe this part of your story will also help some of our colleagues who were there, because storms come and storms go. And, it's how we navigate it that really, really is the lasting testament of our legacy. So, like, tell us, how were some of the ways you were able to navigate through that pandemic? Because I saw that you were like a champion, and you have additional awards I haven't talked about, but you definitely have some champion awards.
No, that is very sweet. So I'll tell you, I think when you have your own practice, the nice thing is that you can pivot. And I think as a solo physician, or as an entrepreneur, or as a private practice, that is something we all need to be okay with doing, to be able to pivot as things happen. And so, before COVID happened, I wasn't doing any telemedicine. It was just in-person visits.
Mhm.
But as soon as COVID happened, we were able to, the same day, we never closed for a single
Wow.
day. We pivoted. We went to telemedicine. We had our sick patients coming in our drive. We had a drive up sick visit
Mhm.
eval. I remember my sister from abroad sent me masks because I couldn't
Mhm.
find masks here. But I will say we everybody tried to help. And so we
Right.
had people trying to find masks from here to protect us, because that was the other thing. We
Mhm.
needed to be okay to be able to look after our patients.
Absolutely.
And so kind of, trying to sort of pivot, make that work. And I think my patients really appreciated it. And I remember, I had families reach out that, somebody else in their family, like adults, needed testing, and we were
Mhm.
just doing it. I was like, it's okay, come bring your family. If somebody needed to travel, I was like, come, doesn't matter. The goal was, let's take care of everybody, let's keep everybody well and healthy, and just do the best that we can. And I think that's what we did. And I think
Mhm.
that's how, we created a safe, healthy environment within the practice for my well visits. So we were able to continue doing well checks
Wow.
inside the clinic, because we had all the six in the car. So the families felt safe and
Mhm.
felt okay bringing their little babies that needed the vaccines and stuff. And
Right.
so, and I was doing a lot of education and sort of putting out information out there. So I think that's how we kind of did it. And then sort of the time went through, and then things sort of started to settle down. And then, we kind of got back into the norm of, the way things are now. So I
Love
think
it.
that's kind
And
of,
that's what, like we said, that's a testament to weathering the storm and
yeah,
being flexible and being ready to pivot
that's
when
right.
you need to, because that was a time that was very, very challenging for others. And
Mhm.
as you mentioned, you are a practice, it's a pediatric practice. And as we alluded to even earlier in this wonderful conversation, that you're seeing patients like 2 or 3 days after they're born. So you can imagine the fear
Yeah,
that is happening with families, but you're able to navigate a system and says, okay, this is how we'll do it. And you did not have to close your doors not once,
yeah,
but just really pivot, think on your feet, and keeping that mindset of, this is how can we provide the care to help as many people to be well. And as part of that whole thing, that's how we have our city now that is well enough that we are able to have a new version of our norm where we're back outside and kids are playing and interacting with each other, and I'm doing well.
yeah,
Now I have another question. Like, through this time of these 20 years of working, and there's so many things that have happened. You worked, life happens, you became a mom, and you're an entrepreneur. You transitioned from all that, from just an employee but and a consultant, but also an entrepreneur, and you having your own practice. Have you ever experienced burnout throughout this time? And if you did, what did it look like for you?
yeah. So I will tell you, I think
Mm-hmm.
for the first time in my life, when COVID happened, um, I was actually scared. I
Yeah.
was scared, not so much for myself, but
Mm-hmm.
I think for that period, because it was the unknown. There was,
Yes.
I had infectious disease specialists. I had all these people around that I was reaching out to. Nobody had answers. It was like, okay, you kind of just figuring it out, right? And my
Mm-hmm.
concern was, if I have my kids at home, I have a mother-in-law at home. I was like, the last thing I want is for me to be the source of other people getting sick. I think it wasn't so much
Absolutely.
for myself, but it was
No, it was
for
really bringing
others.
this thing home.
That's
Yeah.
right. And I think that literally for the first time, and I'm the type of person that sort of, you feel like I think there's a personality kind of thing. You kind of have things under control. And then when
Yes.
things are not in your control, suddenly there's like this anxiety or fear comes in. And I
Mhm.
think that was the first time in my life when I kind of took a step back and I said, you know what? I don't know. I really don't know. And
Mhm.
I think I turned to faith, and
Mhm.
I prayed, and I just said, I'm doing things. I will do the best that I can. I hope I keep everyone well. And sort of go that way. But it
Mhm.
was exhausting. It was
Mhm.
really, really exhausting. And I could see the frustration around us, and
Mhm.
and the anxiety around us, and you kind of still have to keep a straight face and act like that brave person, like, you
Mhm.
couldn't if some, I don't know if you can share, I guess you can, but it's sometimes hard to share. I think it's a
Yeah.
personality thing. And so I think we all find our own sort of piece a peaceful
Mhm.
place and sort of find a way. So I started exercising. I think that was the Peloton time. Everybody got on
Yes,
the
that's true.
Peloton. I was in the Peloton. We were biking outside. Everybody started getting dogs. I'm a little
Mhm.
scared of dogs. I kind of have to say I didn't allow my kids that. But, things like that to kind of bring that anxiety down and bring that
Mhm.
normalcy back into your life. So
Mhm.
I think that was a very big part of it. But the second time was so when I converted my membership a year and a half ago, my practice to official membership based direct primary care. Before that, for the 2 years before that, I was tracking insurance reimbursements and as a solo practice. And I was just going to bring that up for other practices that have potentially been forced to shut down. As a solo small practice, you have no negotiating power. And I
Mm.
think that can be really, really hard for a practice to survive because
Mhm.
everything around you is getting more expensive and
Mhm.
your reimbursement is going down, and the patients don't understand that it's not you, but it's
Yes.
this third business in the middle that's sort of dictating a lot of things, which then
Yes.
strains that relationship. And so I actually tracked it for 2 years before I made the official decision to transition my practice to full-blown membership based. And
Mhm.
I remember when I brought it up to my patients, and I spoke to them about it for a year. There were families that were like, yes, this is what you need to do. And in my own way, I tried to explain to them that, look, I'm kind of being pushed to the wall because
Yeah.
I want to continue giving you this level of care. And
Mhm.
if I could with the insurance, I would have, and I did it for as long as I could, but I had to make a decision for the
Absolutely.
survival of the practice, but also
Mhm.
for my ability to continue to care for your kids. And my husband, he would always say, and I always really value that. He said, remember that as long as you work, you're taking care of someone.
Mm.
If you stop working, all those people you would have taken care of won't get the care from you. So that
Wow.
was one of the things. So it was sort of, again, pivoting, changing, trying to adjust to a new normal. But yeah, I mean, I think that was a second point where I was like, okay, I see this system is just not working. I have tried everything I
Yes.
have in my power, and I'm going to have to make a big change to be able to
Mhm.
continue to do what I need to do to look after the families that choose to get that level of care. And so that was the second part. So I think it's just learning to pivot and figure out a new norm.
Yes, absolutely. I love the advice that your husband gave you, which is when we think about it in its like totality. Yes, of course you need the revenue stream in order to keep the business going, but once you can do that, it's the reminder of when your business is open, you are taking care of someone.
That's right.
And once it closes, and that's for us, for all physician entrepreneurs who start to doubt, because there are times when this doubt starts to creep in, right? Doubt your value, doubt your worth, doubt if it's worth it. Am I having an impact? The answer is resoundingly yes.
Yes. Yes.
Even when it doesn't appear that you're having an impact, you are having an impact. As long as you are able to stay open, you're providing care
That's
to
right.
someone and to a family. And even if you're providing care to that one person, you're providing care to that family, because the health that and wealth, of knowledge and information that you provide to that one family member, they're able to disperse it to the rest of the family. Either if it's like, the kids, they're growing up, they're providing, like, not just now that information. I'm pretty sure a lot of your kids have started giving you back the information you gave them.
Yes.
Yes, but also, the wealth, and you're bringing on this new generation that understands what's going on in their body, understand the differences and the choices that they're making, and are able to make wiser choices because of that. So the impact is exponential. So
Right.
if any of you are out there doubting and you're in that period where at times we call a valley, where you feel like you're low and you're not making an impact, the answer is you are making it and having a significant impact on your patient and their family. Now,
100%.
I have my fun question of the day. that I
Okay.
love asking all of my guests. Okay, so if you weren't a pediatrician, so your mom's Swiss. So I don't know. Do you like to ski? Because I might have to pull that off. No. Okay. Good. All right.
I'm
So
scared. I'm scared of
you
skiing.
ski? Oh, me too. Good. I tumble, not ski. Alrighty. Good. We're in the same boat.
I roll.
Roll, hey, roll down
God, no.
on the bunny hill with all the little kids skiing
That's right.
by us.
Mhm.
Alrighty. So yeah, what you weren't a pediatrician, weren't a doctor, doing anything with kids, what would you be?
So, it's funny. I'll just tell you a funny thing.
Mhm.
So, when I was little, to be honest, before I decided to be a doctor, I told my father, he asked me once, "What do you want to be?" And I said, "I want to be a queen."
I
And
love it.
he was like, "What?"
So
And I
did
was like,
Meghan Markle take your spot?
but it was hilarious. My dad was just so shocked. He was like, "What?" And I was like, "Yeah." And I don't know, I think I must have been 3 or 4 or something. And then
Yeah,
my mother and my father would always say, "There's the little queen coming." And then they were like, "Okay, so
but
you
you
become
did
a
it
queen."
though. You did
Yes,
it because you have three boys and a
that's
husband.
right.
So guess what you are? The
I'm
queen.
a queen. I was just like, it was so random. I was like, from a queen to a pediatrician. My friends, when our little friends or family friends would always laugh. They were like, "Oh my God, I know went from queen to queen of the house." I was like, "Oh yeah, I'm the queen. I am like the queen of my little kingdom."
You're doing your queendom right now.
Kingdom. I seriously, it was. But yeah, no, I think that was one of the things. But I think I love dance. I did love
Hmm.
dance. And
Hmm.
so, sort of just yeah, I think that was something that I really enjoyed. I thoroughly enjoyed dancing.
Okay.
So yeah, that was
So there
another.
are a couple of us. So I'll tell you, I asked this question to, almost all of my guests. You're like my 250 blah, 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 guest. And because I have this this utopia in my mind where all my physician friends are. And we have a couple of us who are on the dance stage. So Tifal and Chi, Dr. Teos, no, not Teosi, yes. Dr. Tifal, she's in Atlanta, so she's dancing too. Dr. Kimberly Davis, she's in California. She's sambaing. So we have a couple of us that are on the dance stage.
Nice.
There, yeah, and we have the dance stage. We have some people who are interior decorators, so they'll decorate the stage for us, and then
Lovely.
we have some florists.
Mhm.
Dr. Shiri Charad, she'll do the floral arrangement, and we have some people who like to bake. And so we have, for all of our guests on our dad show, we have in the audience, we have people who provide wonderful meals and little nice bakery snacks. So there it is. Our
Oh, that's so
utopia is it's all going well. All
Oh,
going well.
beautiful. A nice little I would be doing the Bollywood style
No
dancing.
worries. I went
We
to
have
one
like
of
a
the
mix.
Bollywood dances. I can just maybe just turn it just a little bit.
A little bit.
Just a little bit.
It's all good. It's so much fun. I
I
think that's
love
really
it.
important. It's important.
So there's so many people that watching this wonderful conversation, listening, laughing along with us, and they're like, "Oh my gosh, I want a pediatrician just like her." They're in the Houston area, or they're probably planning on
Mhm.
moving to this area. Can you tell them how can they find you? How can they be part of your world, Dr. Khanum?
So yeah, so I have so my practice is in Bel Air.
Mhm,
My website is www.pediatricpod.com.
mhm,
Most of the time, a lot of our families reach out to us
mhm,
online through our
mhm,
website, and they can call. And my assistant Cynthia, she sets up a meet and greet. So families typically would call to schedule a meet and greet. We do a little one-on-one because I like
mhm,
to. It's a small practice, so I invite families in, but I want to make sure that it's a good fit and they understand what we have to offer and we can help them. If it doesn't work out, then I can help them find someone else. So we kind of try to do that.
love it.
I do a lot of education. So I am free education. So I'm on
Mhm,
Instagram at Pediatric Pod. I'm on TikTok. I'm on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube. I'm on all and LinkedIn. And so I try
mhm,
every day to do, and I tell parents it's like, it's the pediatrician mama kind of thing. So I try to bring in information that is validated, but with a practical stint. So it's often, and it's all based on questions I get from my families or friends, or I go somewhere and they're like, hey, how do you do this? And I'm like, okay, I'm going to go ahead and make a little video. So I do that. And it's all at Pediatric Pod in the different handles. And then the other thing I do is ADHD evaluations, and that's open to the community. And so because, there are two things that there's a big issue with, and there's a difficulty getting evaluated. One is ADHD, and the second one is autism.
Right.
And so I do autism evaluations, again, no wait times, and then ADHD evaluations. And you don't have to be part of my concierge practice to get those evaluations done. And so I've had lots of families that reach out, and we have no wait list. We usually get them in within 2 weeks, which is amazing because the majority of places have like a year to a year and a half. But that's another service that I like to do. And the reason is, again, this was, I think in a concierge style practice, you have the ability to see necessities or needs in the community. And my goal was I have the time and the availability to be able to fill them and to help out. And so that's another two things that I've done. But yeah, I love educating. I do free classes and stuff. But yeah, the best way, and then our phone number, it's 713-669-1900. Very easy. You always get a person who takes the call. So that's the nice part about it. Once you give us a call, someone's going to respond. There's no phone tree. You'll know who it is. It's Cynthia. There's no 10
So you can just say, hi, Cynthia. I heard about you.
Yes, totally. I heard about you or saw you or this. And I'd like to kind of set up a meet and greet. And then we go ahead. And usually we can schedule the same day, the next day. And the good thing is that once everything works out, we send the information. And within 24 hours, we're able to schedule them for their first appointment with the kids. Wonderful. So it's really like the goal is really get you in. And I like to establish care sooner. I've had a couple of families that will reach out and they're like, we're going to join. And then there's sometimes a little lag and then the kid gets sick. And then they're like, okay, we're joining right now. And I'm like, we prefer a little bit of time. So that way there's a way that I've seen your kid when they're well. So our goal is really to kind of get the families in when the children are well. So I can establish a baseline. I think that's really important for you to know what the child looks like when they're well and see how they look like when they're sick. Because I think that's another part that sort of tends to miss in the traditional system right now.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think those are the places. I don't know if I've missed any. Have I missed any?
No, I think that you've hit the all the social media handles at Pediatric Pod, and as you mentioned, you provide a lot of information. So if you're out there and you want to be informed about the different facets of pediatrics and the illnesses and wellness, right?
That's right.
Pediatric wellness too. Then going at Pediatric Pod or on the social media handle. And if you'd like to be part of Dr. Khanum's care, you're a family that's looking for a great pediatrician neighborhood feel, which is what she has provided in her practice. And if you want to get to meet Cynthia on the phone,
I'll tell you, it's funny. I'll just give you, I had a family. They were so cute. They said, I feel like you are a pediatrician who's in our house. And I started laughing. I said, well, yeah, I guess that's what it is because I have a lot of families that travel also. Yeah. And so they can text. And so, when they're traveling, they're kind of like, oh my God, I feel like you're in our suitcase. And I'm like, well, that's a good thing, right?
Well, that shows that level. You know what? When you described what you wanted, and I see the description on the website, that right there validates that what you put together and your dream for this practice, that it's coming in. And it's the dream that you had within your heart is now permeating to the hearts of the families who you're taking care of. And that must be such a wonderful feeling. Because there's so many times we conceptualize things, we put it together, and we pour our heart into it. And to see the reciprocation of that from the family, then you know that you're on the right track and you've done the right thing. And like your husband says, you're always taking care of at least someone.
That's right. No, that is true. And I'll tell you, my website, the pictures are all my own kids when they were little. And
so I have the website up. Let me see.
So the post, those are my 3 boys. A very good friend of mine took that picture, and I love that picture. That sort of describes my household environment. They're much bigger now. They're much older. They're like 17, 15, and 12, but that was when they were little. So somebody said, who are these kids? And I said, it's all a family effort. The pictures on the
Yes.
website are my kids, the pictures and
Oh,
paintings in the office. I really sort of bring it in. It's like that
yeah.
homely feel. And yeah, you have your little pediatrician next door to you who's trying to take care of you and your kiddos and
Yeah.
grandparents. I mean, I have a great relationship with a lot of grandparents.
Oh yeah, grandparents
I'll be
love
like,
to come to
Grandma,
the visits
come on
too.
in.
Yes, yes, and see how the generations going. Love it,
100%.
love it, love
100%.
it, love it. So before we end this wonderful conversation, do you have any last words to those who are listening out there?
Yeah, so I think, thank you very much for having me. This was really nice. I
Absolutely.
hope it helps other pediatric practices or other physicians out there. I think there's multiple groups that I think hopefully will benefit from this. Firstly, being a
Mhm.
pediatrician, doing your own thing, you can do it. Go out there, get that focus, that you know what, you're helping somebody. And for the families out there, I think a lot of people don't realize, like,
Mhm.
they don't know we're out there and that there is a different way of doing things that actually goes back to the old style. So that's why my name
Mhm.
is called Pediatric Pod, because I'm a pod. It's just me and the patient. There's
Yeah.
no other barriers. And
Two
I
peas in the pod.
that's
Oh,
it.
I see
Exactly. So you're just
it.
right there. It's just me and the patient and the patient's
Mhm.
family, actually. And I think
Mhm.
knowing that you can actually get the best of both worlds.
Yeah.
You get the care at a very affordable rate, which is it's like the cost of a cup of coffee a day. I mean, when you kind of look at it,
Mhm.
affordable care that gives you all these perks, it's a no-brainer. And that's how I kind of look at it.
Mhm.
And to see, because the convenience, the premium personalized care, the premium access, the direct text access, the extended appointments, the convenience for working parents, and the affordability just sort of makes it what we all should have. I think this is what our
Absolutely.
healthcare system should be. And
Absolutely.
I think there's a lot of pivoting going in this direction. The more people that try it, they're like, why would I want to not do this? Because that's what I get. I mean, seriously, I have a lot of new parents, young
Mhm.
babies, expectant parents that call and they're like, nope, I don't want to try anything else. This is what I want. Is it not everybody doing this? And I'm like, no, no, not really.
No, not really. But it's there are a lot of physicians taking the control back into their
Yes,
hands
you are
and
right.
being able to provide the care that they want,
Yes,
how they want to,
that's
and
right.
have the families be able to receive the type of care
That's
that
right.
they have been trained. It's interesting, like we're trained one way, but then like we step out and it's so different. And so, thank you so much for being like a firm member of here, the Houston community, providing excellent care in the pediatric space for these past 10 years as an independent, as a solo practitioner, as a mompreneur, as yes, someone who understands, as you said, from the parent standpoint, understand their pain points and is providing the wonderful care for them there. Alrighty, for those of you guys who are just jumping on, I see some people on and off. And I know how you guys get. You're like, Dr. Beckford, I didn't get to see all of this. And I'm like, you know what? Have no fear. This wonderful conversation is available on our Your Caring Docs website. Just go to urcaringdocs.com, select podcast, and you're going to see Dr. Khanum's beautiful face. Download the episode and send it to 10 of your friends. Now, if you're in the Houston area, send it to 10 of your friends who are looking, for a doctor. I love the fact that she says that we have a conversation, we have a meet and greet, and see if both of us are a good fit for each other, right? So
Yeah.
it's not just like, okay, well, here we go. And if you want to say, make sure you tell Cynthia hi, and say like, hey, Dr. Beckford said to tell you hello. So
I will tell her.
I love it. I love it. Alrighty, for those of you who are out there, there's so many people. We talked about burnout, and we definitely know that there are so many women out there who are suffering from burnout and thinking that this life that they're living right now, that feels so empty, they feel like they've lost their meaning, that's just the way it is. And we are here to let you know that no, you can always, like Dr. Khanum say, pivot. You can always pull back control. And for those ladies, I would love for you to be part of my community. We have on our Your Caring Docs website, yourcaringdocs.com/thrive. We have a thriving program there for 6-week program to help those ladies who feel that they're battling burnout, to help you to break free from burnout so that you can live life on your own terms, bring back that joy, that peace back into your life, the meaning, and not yelling at your kids, not feeling guilty, not having any energy at the end of your day to be with your partner or your loved ones. That's what we're doing with this Thrive program. So if this is for you, go to yourcaringdocs.com/thrive. Well, with that, we're going to end this wonderful conversation, Dr. Khanum.
Thank
Thank you
you.
so much for having you here on there. Thank you for coming in. Thank you, all our guests. And thank you for all our listeners and watchers. We saw some people coming on and off. Thank you all for being part of this wonderful conversation. So Dr. Khanum and I, we're going to talk offline because we are going to go ahead and we're going to set up some time to have some coffee.
Thank
We're in the
you.
Houston area. Thank you so much. Thank you, Dr. Valerie, who's saying hello, hello, hello. All righty. Thank you, guys. We'll see you guys at our next show. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.